Hey everybody, welcome to Improv FAQ at Length. This is a series of longer conversations about improv topics that have lots of questions surrounding them. I'm James Quesada.
And I'm Bob Wick.
And this is going to be a new sort of series or type of conversation that we're going to have that we're thinking of and calling a show and tell episode. Where we talk about shows that we've been a part of and what we've learned from them and the takeaways that have influenced us or helped us grow as improvisers from past shows. So this is going to be our first episode doing that. And Bob, the show, which I'm very excited to talk to you about, this is your show. It's a show called Battleprov, right?
Battleprov, yes.
And so before we really jump into it, just in an effort to keep things structured, I'm just going to lay out what our intention of how we're going to make our way through a show and tell episode. We're going to start with the story behind the show, where the idea of the show came from and what went into developing it, rehearsing it, and what you learned from everything leading up to actually getting the show on its feet. Then we'll talk about how it went during its run, as well as major takeaways by the end. And then finally, the last thing we'll do is talk about if you had to do it over again, what would you do the same or differently? That's the current intention of how we're going to make our way through these episodes.
All right. Yeah, sounds good.
Let's start with the story behind Battleprov, Bob.
All right. Wow.
How did this thing come to be?
When we started talking about these kind of episodes, like that was the first thing that popped in my head, because this is the first show that I helped produce and put together and organize and promote, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of work, a lot of disappointment at some points. So Battleprov started. So I went through Second City. I think I graduated in
because I think maybe actually the best place to start is just say what the show is. Let's start there. What's the short description
that would
of the
make
show?
Sense. It's a competitive short form show. So much because we have seen Damnation Game at the Improv Inferno before I graduated from Second City in 2006. And I wanted to do a show like that because to me, those people were like rock stars, you know, and I was very familiar with short form is an easier form of improv to have connect with an audience.
Yeah.
You know, if you notice, like a lot of theaters use like a short form show for their Friday and Saturdays as a flagship to make money, and you know, because it's easy. Like we explain the games. Everybody have seen. A lot of people have seen Whose Line Is It Anyways? You know, this is a very great intro to improv type show. So when we got the opportunity to do one,
possibly most importantly, it's in a bar, right? This is your Barprov show.
Yes, it's a Barprov show. So to be honest, I didn't start the show. It's Josh Campos and a friend of ours, John. God, what's his name? And our friend John. Sorry, John. I suck at names. It's an ongoing thing.
Unforgivable.
Our friend Josh and John had started it, and it was right after I graduated, but I was still at Second City taking the writing program, and they just got a group of people, and I believe Josh is the one who actually made contact with somebody who is like a promoter and for bands, and and she got us into this bar called the Rusty Nail.
Yeah.
Which was which was this little dive bar. I think it was, oh gosh, I just sent it to you. It's like it was far out there. It was a pretty far drive. It was a middle, I wouldn't say nowhere, but I don't think there was any comedy venues around it.
Well, I mean, there weren't a ton of comedy venues really ever in Michigan, right? I mean, like,
no, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah, the Inferno was like, especially for improv, the Inferno was closed. Second City and Ant was there. But as far as like stand-up comedy, I think actually out that way there was like a Chaplin's, but that just closed.
Yeah. And there's been like, I mean, there's Ripley's. Is that what it's called in Royal Oak?
Oh yeah, Mark Ripley's. Yeah. But that's in Royal Oak.
Mark Ripley. Yeah. Is it Mark Ripley or Ridley? Whichever. There's a long-standing.
Yeah, it's Ripley's. Believe it or not, is Mark Ridley's.
And I think there was one in Livonia, Kickers or something that may not still be around. And there's just never been a ton of stand-up venues in Michigan. It would make sense for Metro Detroit to have a really great stand-up scene. There's tons of comedians in our experience. That more than enough to make a thriving scene, but there's really just only ever been a handful of strong venues, and otherwise there's bars that hold open mics and whatnot.
Well, and you tend to see that more in Michigan, like
Clinton
Township, and you tend to see that more in Michigan, like pop-ups or open mics at locations that usually host bands and stuff like that. And that's what we were. Rather than having a band on a Sunday night, they tried to do comedy.
Right.
Because, I mean, they weren't paying us, so they weren't losing anything. The bar was making money because we were all a bunch of newbies coming in there drinking to get confidence. And, man. Yeah. I always had to have a DD. Yeah.
So I know Josh, and do I know John?
I believe John moved before you came around. Yeah, he moved before Go opened.
Okay. But they start the idea, and then at what point do you get involved? After it's already going, or like leading up to it, you're helping out?
I believe they did one or two. I performed in the second one. Papandra gets involved. A bunch of people get involved. Like we have kind of like a steady crew doing it.
Okay.
And I don't remember how it switched, but some of them want to do long form, and I'm adamant against it because in this bar that we're at, we do have some actually because of Josh and some other folks, we're bringing in some of their friends and everything. We actually started getting regulars, but there's also regulars of the bar who were cool with us doing like innuendo, and we were doing some more like for lack of better terms, like Danger-Prov, like so stuff like was it oxygen deprivation, where
one person holds their head underwater in a bucket.
Yeah.
While the rest
we
of
were
the
pretty much like, we were pretty much doing the jackass version of improv because that's the kind of audience we have, and they're trying to switch to more long form. And then there was like, I don't know, stuff happens when you do stuff like this, and then all of a sudden, I started taking more of a lead, and like. With me, I want it to look professional. Like I forgot what the name was originally. I think it was Fife, which was an acronym for blank your face.
What? Oh, yes, BYF?
No, Fife. So Frank your face, but not Frank.
Gotcha.
Which I think a big part of this too is why I kind of took over, because during that time, I don't remember who it was, but someone in charge had made these flyers and put them up in Second City that says, "Check out the Fife Show. We're the best comedy in town." And I think their intent was to be sarcastic, but people were pissed. Like, how are you going to come to Second City and like just basically put that up? And then their compromise, because I think someone sat him down. I think it was Pete. It was like, guys. That was dumb. The sarcasm isn't being. There's nothing else sarcastic about this flyer.
Yeah,
it sounds too sincere. You didn't put, and as an example, you didn't say like you didn't put in hypotheses like best comedy in town in a contest voted by our mothers. Come check us out.
Yeah.
So the following week, these geniuses add that to the poster, thinking that it would be a cure-all, and like it just.
Good point,
God bless them.
Good point. We'll add it.
They took the note. They took the note wrong. So
wait a minute. Let me. I don't want to derail you, but I just want to get context, because honestly, I don't think you and I have ever really talked about this. So I'm coming in not with a ton of information on it. So it's in Clinton Township, which is pretty far north of Detroit, and it's pretty far east. So where are you living at this point? You're like, how long of a drive is it for you? Novi.
Almost an hour. Almost an hour.
Okay, so and then why was it Clinton Township? Those guys live out there in the St. Clair Shores area or something?
I think Josh did, or close to it, and I think that was just like the first place that would take us. During that time, there was a couple pop-ups that were popular. Matt Nas, I think we talked about when we talked about with him. Yeah. He had one in Royal Oak at the yoga shelter that was really popular, and it was great. And I think that was kind of what we were going for, like a fun pop-up. And this was the first location that someone had got. So I was just happy to perform because, I just did my class show a couple months ago and I haven't done anything since. The only other thing I probably could have possibly done is put something together and try to open for the Planet Ant home team. But by then, because there was no Inferno and Second City had jams, but they didn't really have opportunities for people to come and do their own show. Yeah. That was it. So everybody was just trying to find their own thing or
so it's out of the overflow of performers and location based just around whoever's putting it together. I'm sure for them it's a huge drive to go out to Ann Arbor for the Inferno or down to Hamtramck for Planet Ant or whatever else. But what year is this?
Oh God, it must have been
2007.
Probably around 07, yeah, because I graduated in 06, so 07 would have been when I was taking the writing program, so either late 06 or like early 07.
Okay,
we did it for a long time too. We did it for almost a year. Actually, we did it almost all the way up to when did Go open? Because that's
2000. I want to say 2008.
Yeah. So almost right up to, because there's a funny story with that, but that's down the road.
So it's that pocket in between the Inferno closing, and Second City. Actually, I said Detroit a minute ago, but it's in Novi at that point, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I apologize if you've already said that stuff, and I'm just being redundant.
No.
Trying to keep track of, of the story, but
I haven't thought about this in years, so trying to organize everything. And also try not to forget, like, there's so much weird stuff that happens throughout this thing. Like, I don't want, like...
Okay, but you got a group of rowdy improvisers that are kind of undermining Second City and Novi with these flyers, trying to get people out to Clinton Township to check out the show. And then do a good amount of people... start coming out, or is it really just like you knuckleheads in Second City trying to squash it?
No, I mean, after that week, I don't think anybody from Second City gave it a second look. But no, we would have, I would say there was like, if you include like the girlfriends and boyfriends of the people performing and a few regulars, I think we had like 10 people who always showed up, and then sometimes there was a little bit more, sometimes there was a little bit less.
Yeah, I got you.
But that was all I needed, like I just needed like someone to pay attention.
Yeah. And then you said you started helping out with like kind of designing the show or developing the show. And you weren't interested in trying to explore long form because you're in a bar is part of the reason, right?
Yes.
And you don't feel like it can hold the attention of the bar crowd, or you can't do it to the in that environment. It's hard in a bar.
Right. And at that time I had participated in a couple of long form shows that didn't go over because it was that kind of audience. So I've gain a little knowledge, a little life experience. But when we would walk into this bar, we would have to put the stage together because the stage itself was like these I don't know, like almost like when you frame a house, you have the little frames, and then they were covered in. They kind of look like Tetris pieces, like made out of wood, covered in the really gross rug, and you would have to put them together. So like when you were performing, they would slide apart because there was nothing holding them to the ground.
They're not secure.
Yeah.
So and because that's a music venue too, right? And it's like they have bands play and
yes,
but you're not in a band. You're not typically trying to cross the stage or do sweep edits.
Yeah.
Well, I guess for short form you wouldn't be doing.
I know if I had to guess, most of the bands that played there were like blues or like some kind of like old rock and roll, like some kind of like bands, or maybe the lead singer did all the movement and everybody else just stand there and just rocked out. Yeah. And it actually was kind of built nice because it was a smaller bar, but we were in the middle, and like there was a dance floor there, so we could get off the stage and do kind of stuff, and they kind of let us have carte blanche of the place because we were the majority of the customers at the time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, again, because we were nervous, were drinking, which is something I learned not to do. So like going back to, so everything kind of crumbled, and then we were rebuilding. Me and Josh were talking a lot, and right about now is when I kind of got more involved with like MySpace. So that was kind of huge because using that for promotions and like learning how like having an online influencer,
building an audience,
just being able to promote stuff. Yeah. Building an audience was really important. Yeah. Like trying to figure out how to make posters and stuff like that weren't so janky, and coming up with the name Battleprov, because like I always think it's kind of cool to have like a slight representation of what the show is within the name, and that was what and plus getting as far away from that in your face fight thing as possible.
But still, you're in a bar where it is like a lot of like blues rockers, and I mean, I was just kind of like going through the imagery or the photos on the Rusty Nails Facebook and seeing like it's you don't want to have it appear to be like some wholesome, G-rated joint either. So it's like I think Battleprov is a cool compromise between trying to be super edgy, but also being not too abrasive. But and so the show format though, you mentioned Damnation Game, which is a short form show from the Inferno, and that was a 3v3 setup. Is that what you guys were doing as teams, or were you just doing like short form sets?
Teams. So or I think we started with teams, and then we went to individuals. And which I don't know. I forgot why we switched, but I guess it was just easier to score that way, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Or keep track.
But you had like a legitimate format. You weren't just like, it wasn't like just a jam with regulars. You were trying to do a format.
Yes. Yeah. Like Matt Noss says, steal from the best, and I was trying to do what Dan was doing. Stealing games from there. There used to be, I don't know if it still exists, but like you could find all the games from Whose Line Is It Anyways online, or the Improv encyclopedia. Just trying new things, like, because the thing I didn't like was I would see shows, not the Infernal one, but like other shows who did short form, and every time you go, they play the same 5 games. So I was trying to like, take care of the audience and challenge the performers, by mixing it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But we always had like the go-tos, like people really love that oxygen deprivation. So that was like a staple. Like,
it's so notorious. I've actually never seen it played, but I've heard about it. I've heard it talked about so much because it's like the go-to bar prov, like reckless abandon, fun game. Like,
Yeah.
were you guys creating any games, or like were there elements that were you were sort of trying to make uniquely Battleprov?
No. I don't think we gelled that well. Like, I think we were still new. I think there was that part. We were still part of that development where people. I mean, we're all friends, but I think as artists, I think we were still at that stage where we kind of just want to do something and do it really well, rather than do it uniquely.
Yeah.
So I think there was comfort in sticking to things that worked or that we've seen work, rather than trying to make it all our own. Yeah. So it would have been cool. That would have been something I would have wanted to try.
Yeah. And then so while you're doing the shows, you said sometimes there would be a little bit bigger of an audience, or sometimes you'd be playing to basically yourselves or no one, which is,
we'd be playing to one person's girlfriend or yes.
What kind of audience would you get? Would you get people that were, what was it like, do you remember what a big audience was like? Was it mostly people that like you just happened to be able to get a bunch of friends out on the same night? Or would it be like, oh, all of a sudden there's a crowd here that's checking out this comedy night, or all of a sudden there's a crowd here to check out the hockey game or something?
Oh, that was something we did run into, like, when we didn't realize, because none of us were really into sports, that football season came up, and it came up quick. And people wanted to watch their football without disturbance. So, and those games run late. Figuring that out, we butt heads a couple times with people sitting at the bar. Learning how to deal with that, learning how to trying to figure out a way in this tiny bar where both improv comedy and like a Sunday night football home game could exist was interesting. And I actually learned a lot about dealing with people with that. Like, if someone is drunk and they're yelling at you, yelling back is like probably the worst way to deal with that.
And did people try that?
So, you take someone like Brian or Josh when they're younger and have a couple beers in them, and we outnumber somebody in numbers. There can be moments where they can get a little sassy. So
rowdy, rebellious dudes. But but you got into some like shouting matches with patrons.
Yeah. And honestly, like in those moments, there was a really badass bartender and also a manager who just like didn't put up with either shit from either us or the other person. They would most of the time they would take our side because we were scheduled to be there. It was on the little chalkboard, and when you walk in, like, hey, there's improv comedy. You know that when you walk in, and as long as we were respectful to everybody, and I think that was something everybody had to learn. Like, as long as we're being respectful, the house is going to take care of us, which was huge. That was really, really helpful.
That is a great point, because Battleprov can definitely feel like lawless. Just the Wild West of like it's us versus the anything could happen. It just feels so I guess vulnerable in the sense of like a fight could break out or something. If you're being respectful and the establishment gave you the slot, so just don't make them look bad. You also don't want to lose them money if there's like 10 people who came to see the football game and they're drinking more than you guys. That sucks. But like, that's the agreement is that like you are there to try and bring in an audience for them and to have a space to play. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But the only way to make it work is to be respectful, do what you're there to do, and not shout down any conflicting business with them.
Yeah,
because same thing happens with like karaoke, right? Is like, if I walk into a bar that has karaoke, I'm like, ugh. But some people love it, and it's like, karaoke isn't going to get into a fight with me about not loving karaoke. They're just going to do the karaoke, and that's what you got to do with, being a band or a stand-up or an improviser in a bar. Is just do what you're there to do.
Yeah.
Did you have mics or anything?
There were times, like, it really depended on. So we had this really cool, the lady who kind of set everything up with Josh. If she was available, because she was also in a band, so I think when she was available, she would come and put out mics. But I think towards the end of it, at the Rusty Nail, like, that wasn't so necessary, because everybody could sit pretty close. Which was really helpful because, like, I learned how to project in that bar. I think sometimes the bartender would forget to turn off the jukebox, or the game was playing. Like, you had to learn how to really project, or they would tell you if they didn't hear you. Like,
performing over music,
it's not a theater,
sure.
and so theater rules didn't apply.
Going on.
yeah. Or like I couldn't remember if it had a jukebox or it was set up in a way where it was just music pumped in, so like they really couldn't control it. I don't remember. It's been 15 years.
We talk about it like it's this constant struggle that was never gonna work or whatever in retrospect. But like, I'm sure that there were nights where you guys felt like winners that you're what does a good night when it goes well look like, and what does that feel like while you're working on the show?
Like a bigger house than usual. Like when people come up to you after, or just like you just feel it. Like something different happened tonight. Everybody was on board. Everybody had their moment, or And again, we were at that point in our artistic development where it's like laughs matter. So it didn't matter what we did as long as we were getting. Oh my gosh, we were crushing. We were getting we got the bartender to laugh, and she was a hard one to get. Like stuff like that. Like people were paying attention. We didn't have any lulls, or we didn't have anybody screaming, "Let's hear some Beastie Boys."
Yeah.
Which happened a lot. One time, like, and this guy was just having a moment. Just every once in a while, just like, put on some Beastie Boys.
It's like it's a very sink or swim situation, right? So it's a rough path, but it's a really effective way to cut your teeth as a performer and build stage presence. Right. And of course there can be negative side effects to kind of potentially hacking your way to get laughs, but on the other hand, you really just build a big, powerful presence because you have to. Otherwise, you can't be like meek. Yeah. And
after doing something like that, like I'm so hard to get shook on stage. Like,
yeah,
I've been on stage during like at Go, and the not bridal party was bachelorette party is going on, and they're being rowdy. Like that doesn't like that's just another night at the Nail. Like that's nothing.
It toughens your skin. You get thick skin.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that is something that like the improv community goes too far on a certain spectrum of like, it's because a major positive appeal of improv is the acceptance, the inclusivity, the support, and not everybody is in it to get things beyond like the classroom or rehearsal practice group feel. But once you start performing, you have to deal with the reality of things like rejection or hecklers, and how to sharpen your skills and get better as an entertainer and a performer. And sometimes it can be a little sheltering for improvisers to come up in a theater that has more control over the environment and what people are there for and whatnot. And so I think it can have a really good effect if you have those thick skin experiences as a performer.
Yeah, I know you probably want to talk more about your bar
we'll do that in another episode.
But I think we both can agree, like, after doing what we did, like having the Battleprov background, going to something like, I don't know, like a Christmas party and performing for people who may not showed up to watch improv comedy. They want to talk to their friends and have a free meal on the company and, whatever. Like that's not a bad night. You've had bad nights. That's not it. You're getting paid a lot. You're gonna get a free meal.
Yeah, it might be awkward, good. But it's like, hey,
like this. Yeah.
Yeah. But
nothing.
So, first of all, how long does the show run? How long does Battleprov run for?
Like as far as like,
oh, sorry. How long from when it started to when it ended?
Okay. I think it well, we were at the Red Snail for about a year, and then we moved to God, where was it? We went to the New Way bar because it was closer. It's in Royal Oak.
Oh, really?
Or the Ferndale. Yes. So we were doing a show there, and with their old owners, like this is like I think 2 or 3 owners ago. So don't hold it against New Way Bar after this story. But we were playing there once a month on a Sunday, and we kind of had a verbal agreement with the woman who owned it that would come in. We would charge a cover, like I think it was like a $10 cover to get in, and that we would fill the house. And we did about 2 or 3 of those. And around that time, word had came out that PJ and Tommy and Gerald and Chris were going to open Go. Mm-hmm. So like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like if we keep on rehearsing, if we keep on performing, if we have this show that's huge, maybe they might be interested. Maybe we can actually play at a real theater. So it was really important to us to we were rehearsing. We brought it, we were doing all these things to make the show as positive as possible. We were having, it was a comedy show, and then we would have a band perform after. Oh, cool. So we would get them. Yeah.
You would book the bands?
It was really cool. Yeah. Yes.
That's awesome.
Or somebody in the group. Like I think Josh knew some people. I knew some people. Papandreou knew some people. Like everybody, because we'd go out to bars and meet people, and or I think Josh working at Caribou, he had some people in bands who worked there with him, or he knew people through that route. So we had a couple of successful ones, and then I invite PJ to come check out the show because we were have all these people. I made promoted the bejesus out of it, just all over MySpace and maybe even Facebook all by then. I think MySpace. That was new. I was MySpace famous for a weekend. I actually. To top it off, I contacted Mike McGettigan and asked him to host the show because I used to love the way he performed. I still love the way he performed, but what we used to do at the Inferno, so I brought an Inferno guy to host the show because it's McGettigan. He's great. Yeah. So I had all this shit set up, and we get there. I get there early, and the door's locked. So me and Mike go to Pizza Hut because I used to be right next to the New Way bar, and we eat, and I'm like, well, sometimes she shows up right before the show, which wasn't uncommon because other than comedy night, she wasn't opened on Sundays, and I'm texting her, I'm not getting texts back, and which still wasn't uncommon, so I'm still hopeful, but I'm scared. And 10 minutes before showtime, we had all these people standing in front of New Way bar, everybody who I was friends with, some family, everybody who I respected, were just standing in front of this bar, and the door is locked, and I never felt so bad. I just felt dead. It was so, and then PJ walks up and he's like, so is the show going on? And I'm like, I don't think so. She's not.
Oh my God. Wait. So they never came?
They never came.
You had to cancel it?
Yeah, even telling the story now, I'm turning red. I'm still embarrassed by that because it was the worst. I can recall show. Man, the show. I almost called her every weekend before that. Hey, we're doing this. We're all ready to go. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have a full house.
Was it the first one at New Way?
No. This is gonna be the 3rd or 4th one, and the 3 or the 2 or 3 previous to that. We always had a full house because we had a full band there. We had everybody who came to watch the band and came to watch comedy. The cast was at least Yeah, I think it was 4-on-4, so 8 plus plus their friends. We were bringing in a lot of business. We were selling a lot of alcohol. Plus the cover all went to her, and the band. So it was. I was trying to set up to win, really.
Yeah, that sucks, man. That is the worst.
It was the worst feeling ever.
So do you keep performing there? Is it the last one? Like what?
Oh no, that's basically when I quit running it. I was just I was just so sick.
It's
Papandrea,
what? So
yeah.
So, okay. Up until that point, are all the shows once a month, or when you were at Rusty Nail, were they weekly?
Rusty Nail was weekly, and then I think bi-weekly, or I think it kind of got phased out a little bit.
And then over the course of that run, is it like, how many of those shows do you walk away being frustrated? How many of the shows do you walk away being like, this is awesome? Like roughly half and half, or like mostly good, mostly bad?
Mostly good. I'm gonna say, mostly good, because I stuck with it, and I remember always looking forward to it. Even after a bad show, I was looking forward to go there.
Yeah. Because
even if the show wasn't that great, the people I was around at the time were amazing, and I really enjoyed the company. So it was, the show was awesome and an awesome experience. But just being around my friends and having drinks, and the nights that were bad, we had a a war story, and the nights that were good were just as rowdy. Yeah. So that was always great.
But then this instance though of just putting all this energy into building up a show, and then having the door never open.
It was just the worst.
Soul crushing.
It was like tripping right in front of the finish line and not being able to give that back up.
Man. So what are like the big major takeaways of the whole experience? Like when you think about it now, we've talked a little bit about like stage presence or having thick skin and stuff, but like what else is still echoes with you as a performer or an improviser now that came from that experience?
A couple things I learned, like when it came to promotions and stuff like that, don't assume. So, I don't think, I think you should be able to delegate, but be mindful of how much you are asking to delegate. Don't delegate your whole show and step back and assume that all the pieces are going to fall together. But don't be so micromanagey that no one feels like they're creating as well.
Yeah.
Because I made both of those mistakes. I did. A lot of it had to do with me working,
controlling too much.
Yeah, because at the time I was also working nights. I was at Ford. I was working Monday through Friday, the night shift. So it didn't really give me enough time to go out there and do stuff like I would have wanted to. But also, I guess, as much fun as playing Oxygen Deprivation was, don't make that your thing. It's clown shoes. It's you're. I think I enjoyed the atmosphere, but I didn't enjoy the art I was creating at that time.
Yeah, fair.
And I think when I did have a rough nights, I remember being kind of upset a couple of times that the stuff we were doing was kind of really, I don't know, just. I don't know how to describe it because it wasn't. Yeah.
I mean, this is probably an extreme, but the only word I could think of is pornographic. It's just like what, you know what I mean?
You know what? That's perfect. Yeah. That is actually it was. I was showing my dick for a laugh, and then I was getting mad when it would get a laugh. It was and the performer I was then is not the performer I am now. But yeah.
To be clear, not literally showing your dick. That's just what it felt like.
No. I don't think they had I don't think the Rusty Nail had a cabaret license or anything.
But
Later on, like,
go ahead.
yeah, no, you go.
So delegating and micromanaging, I think that's such a great lesson. Not everybody gets to wear the shoes of a producer or a showrunner, but it's such a valuable position that somebody's got to do, and I think that's a great lesson to take away for anybody who is interested in doing it. Were there any other things as a showrunner that you were major takeaways, or as a performer?
As a performer, yeah, just like, again, how to deal with drunk people or a rowdy house, or, you know, just because the audience wants a particular type of comedy, like, again, like we're just talking about, doesn't mean you necessarily have to give them it on their terms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, learning how to play to the height of your intelligence rather than just, you know, clown dance, you know, or dance monkey dance, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then, like, people don't always deliver on their promises was a big one. You know, like, sometimes they promise you the door is going to be unlocked and it's not. So, you know, it's and being okay with that, and being ready to, okay, if that's unavailable, what do we do now? And
life goes on.
Rather than, and you can always overcome that. So don't treat it like it's the end of the world.
Yeah. What would you have done? So I want to ask this final question of, if you were to do it again, if you were tasked with or hired, or was your only option to run a Battleprov show or relaunch Battleprov, what are some things you would do the same, and what are some things that you would do differently? And I'm just curious, maybe we can start with what would you have done now when the door is closed? Like, if a venue doesn't open and they're supposed to, what would your course of action be at this point?
Well, I would hope if that ever happened, I would be at the point where whatever product I was making would have its own brand, and I could take it somewhere else. You can always find another place.
Would you do anything different in that moment, though? Like, because the show never happened. Everyone just like went home.
Honestly, I wish we would have done it in the parking lot, or something more imaginative.
Yeah. Or started making calls to do it in somebody's backyard or basement, or
yes, something. But I was just so deflated. I don't think I had it in me at that moment. But I wish, like, I could think of an alternative. Like, you know what? Honestly, I wish we would have done it in their parking lot just to show them how many people we had, and then took a picture, or then put it on MySpace.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, you have a lot of thirsty people out here who messed up. Because I think there was a lot of people who did use, like, I'm not sure if Yelp was a thing, but like those kind of things to insult
review sites or whatever.
I think a couple of people were salty and kind of, you know, trying to on my behalf to, you know, just yell at them. And honestly, I think I appreciate the thought, but I think at the end of the day, it just made us look just as bad.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Well, and then what else? Running, if you were to run it again, maybe one thing that you would want to keep the same, or keep the spirit of, and one thing that you would want to definitely do differently.
I would definitely keep the energy. Like, I loved how excited we were to get in there and play. I don't think I see that a lot now. I think a lot of that has to do with, it was our own thing, and, you know, we were really proud of it just because, hey, it's our baby, we're proud. And B, like, again, there's a reason why I drove an hour to perform an hour-long show. You know, it's because there wasn't enough opportunity. So when I did get the stage time, I really appreciated it. I really cared, and I think I want to see more people just caring about their stage time. You know, just caring. So I wish there was a way to, I don't know, promote that more, or gift somebody with that. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen anymore, and there are a lot of people who do, but it's just a generalization that I see, like people using the stage to rehearse rather than rehearsing to be on stage.
Yeah. And then one major thing that you would do differently.
You know what? Try to find a bar that. Well, honestly, Russ Nail wasn't that bad, but like trying to find bars that had performance spaces were easier than I think the last iteration of Battleprov happened at the old Rosie O'Grady's.
Yeah.
So that had kind of an area, but it really wasn't set up for us. Like trying to find, I don't know, like
Rosie
a coffee
O'Grady's?
shop maybe rather than
like in the dance floor area.
Yeah, where the When I Betty's is now.
Oh, okay. So Rosie O'Grady's moved.
Yes.
Okay. Because the new. I mean, those are both big spaces. That I feel like that's a more difficult thing is to do a improv show in a giant bar than one that's like too small and cramped.
Right. Yeah, and I think maybe talking to whoever is managing or the owner and like, hey, we'll bring in people. Maybe having some kind of I don't know, understanding that the music will be off. If there is an issue, I expect the manager to take care of it rather than us taking care of it. You know, if someone gets rowdy, because just for a safety's sake, you know, I really would have felt bad if at some point someone would have gotten hurt when they're trying to do improv. You know.
Yeah. So just having a more clear agreement between the show and the venue.
Yes. Yeah, because I think almost every time we just ran in and like, we're just so happy to be here. Whatever you want, you know, we'll paint your house and then come do an improv show at your bar.
Yeah. And I think the tricky thing is that there's a way to do that without taking yourself too seriously. Because you know, bar owners, as far as my experience goes, not just with my own Battleprov experience, but like, you know, like they're relaxed people, right? It's a relaxed type of business, but they still take their business seriously. They just do it in a way that is more relaxed and casual, and so you have to match that energy, but still get to the same agreement because they'll respect a conversation just with the right attitude.
Yeah. And also a thing I learned, not because I made a mistake, but just by like be respectful when it comes to your advertisement. You know, don't claim you're the funniest people in town and post it on the wall, the funniest people in town, you know?
Yeah.
And on the reverse, like if someone doesn't open up their bar for you, don't attack another business. You never look good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Respect. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I am so happy to have unpacked Battleprov.
Oh, man.
I was really looking forward to starting this type of episode, and I doubt that we'll give it its own header of, a show and tell series, but we're going to do more episodes like it where we talk about more show experiences and the things that we learned from them. I think this was such a great starting point. Very cool.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Okay. Well, with that, we thank you for tuning into Improv FAQ at length, and we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.